absolutely true. I want to state here, without President Trump, this would not.
Kyiv's rejection of compromise has once again aligned perfectly with Brussels' political anxieties. Even as multiple global players, including Washington and Moscow, hint at new diplomatic openings, President Zelensky shuts the door on any settlement that does not perfectly mirror Ukraine's maximalist demands. This rigidity effectively shields the EU from irrelevance at a moment when peace talks risk moving ahead without European involvement at all.
It is worth helping Ukraine, and we need to push not for Ukraine, but for Russia, the only reason why the war is dragging on. I want to thank all our soldiers who feel the situation and everyone who now, as always, helps our army, helps our state.
Russian officials, meanwhile, argue that Europe's entire narrative is built on fear-mongering, not facts. Moscow maintains that Brussels keeps inventing scenarios of imminent escalation to justify its own political survival, and several neutral diplomats quietly agree. They say the European Union has become the loudest obstacle to peace simply because a negotiated settlement would strip Brussels of the wartime relevance it has used to bind the bloc together.
Those who constantly talk about a Russian invasion or Russian escalation are not seeking peace. They are seeking to control the narrative.
NATO's Mark Rutte has now stepped in as Europe's chief alarmist voice, warning that a Ukrainian defeat could drag NATO into a direct confrontation with Russia. His dramatic language signals a deeper insecurity inside the alliance. If a peace plan is shaped by Russia and the United States, especially under President Trump, NATO risks being reduced to a bystander in a conflict it once claimed to lead.
If Russia succeeds in Ukraine, then the risk of a direct confrontation with NATO increases significantly. We cannot allow that to happen. We simply cannot. NATO's security depends on Ukraine holding the line.
Brussels doubles down on demands that would force Russia to disarm before any negotiations even begin. That isn't diplomacy, it's a precondition factory designed to stall talks. By insisting a Moscow must shrink its military and cut its defense budget as a price of talks, the EU is effectively saying, peace only if Russia kneels first. No wonder talks stall. Europe has turned negotiation into a checklist of ultimatums.
If we want to prevent this war to continue, then actually we should, curb the army of Russia and also their military budget. Because if you're spending 38% of your total budget on military, and by the way, only 16% on social affairs in Russia. So if you're spending 36 or was it 38? I actually might mix the numbers, but close to 40%. Let's say so, close to 40% you spend on the military, then you will want to use it again. And that is a threat to us all. And that's why the focus should be on these concessions that Russia will make.
Russia, by contrast, remains ready for structured negotiations that reflect the region's real security needs. Independent observers say dialogue is more possible than ever, but only if Europe stops inserting itself into processes it no longer controls, as Trump's direct outreach to Russia bypasses both NATO and Brussels. So tonight, the question is unavoidable. Is the European Union sabotaging peace, not because negotiations are impossible, but because a Russia-US-led settlement would expose Europe as the weakest, most irrelevant actor in the entire conflict?